Hello everyone. Hi Kat. Um, I'm going to try this again to make another video so you can see how I start my toe up socks, and then I will do a cuff down sock and show you how I do the heel flap. And let's see, if you're needing a heel for the toe up, I would suggest you pick up the Fish Lips Kiss heel off of Ravelry. Wish I could quit saying. It's a very good pattern. It's not very expensive, and it's my easy go-to. It's one that you can remember real easy. So let's get started with the toe up and how I cast on for my toes, and we can get you started that way. These are my helper needles for my 9-inch. These are my 9-inch. These are stitch markers, and these are the size 1s. These are size 0. I went to a size 0 because my socks were getting a little loose, so I thought a 0 would be the best, but I do have a size 1 in that also. And these are also the size 1. Both of these wooden ones are clovers that I picked up at Joann's. So you can pretty much pick up the wooden ones anywhere. And it's what I call my helper needles. I don't really use these much anymore since I found the Haya 9-inch circulars. But let's get you started. I think this color yarn you might be able to see it better. So let's start with this then. Okay. I'm going to try this 2 or 3 ways just to help you pick the one you like the best. The shorter needles are the ones I usually start with, and I get out 3. And I hold my 2 needles parallel. And I'm going to cast on 24 stitches, 12 on my top needle and 12 on my bottom needle. And this is how I do it. It's a sort of like Judy's magic loop cast on. So if you've done long tail cast on, this is a tail, and you don't need a lot of the tail. So I just pull out a little bit and hold it over my fingers like you do when you're long tail cast on. And this is the working yarn, and this is my tail. The blue part over here is my tail. So I hold my needles parallel, and I slide this over my top needle, and then I twist my 2 needles, and I always keep these needles together and wrap that over and into the middle. So that's 1 stitch on both sides. Twist it down, over, down, over, that from the outside into the middle. Twist it back up from the outside into the middle. That gives you 2 stitches on each needle. Go all the way down to the bottom, from the outside in, back up to the top, from the outside in, back down to the bottom, the outside in, back up here to your top, outside in, outside, from the outside in, and from the outside in. So you're doing this, make sure you always have the same amount of stitches on both of your needles. So we're at 5 and 5. Now, if you want to start this on your 9-inch circulars, you can replace one of these needles with your 9-inch circular. So it would be held in place of like this. But you would continue to do the same thing you're doing now to cast on. Outside. That's 6. Swing it back up. 6. Down. Hope you can see. 7. 7. 8. 8, 9, 9. We're almost there. 10, 10, 11, 11, 12. There's your last one, 12. Okay. As you can see, this last loop will be floppy. See how it just runs? So what I do is I take and hold that down next to where I've cast all my stitches, and I bring this over that one and down, and now that sort of locks this in. It's not wiggling around. Just hold this down, and you're going to turn your work where you're going to be knitting. You'll knit this first stitch, and it's going to be a little tight, but you can do it. You can do this just fine. Let's move that camera down a little bit more where you can see. Is that better? So you're going to knit the very first stitch. Now you can always tighten these up after. I'll let go of my tail there, and it took off. So make sure you hold this little tail down so it won't make this loose. So you're going to knit your first stitch. See, I'll let that go. Happens to all of us. So I'm going to lock this back down again, just because you're just twisting these two strands here and holding the tail one down tight, or tight enough that this doesn't loosen up, this first stitch. Or that's the way I do it. And everybody has a different way of doing it, so okay. And you get that first stitch off that needle, and don't let these other ones slide, the bottom row slide, because you're going to knit that next. Then you can tighten it up a little bit. It'll be a little easier on you. Then you knit the next row. I pulled them too tight when I was showing you. I mean the next stitch, excuse me. And what I do is I push this bottom needle up a little bit, so it's easier for me to get these stitches off and not lose the stitches on my bottom needle. So you've knit 2. Knit your third one. And knit my fourth one. And knit my fifth one. Six. 7. 8. It's going to feel funny when you first start this. 9. 10. 11. And there's your 12th stitch. Okay, now when you lay this that way, you've already knit all these that's on your top needle. Now you're going to turn this so your bottom needle now becomes your top needle. Slide this down where you can work on it. Slide that one out so you don't lose these stitches. And you're going to knit 12. The next 12, that gives you your 24. That's the beginning of your toe. And I do 24. I have done 8 or 10. So that's entirely up to you in the pattern that you're working. Okay. Almost there. Let me see. Can you see that? I'm not sure that you can, but we'll keep trying. I know it's quiet in here. The anticipation of toe socks. Toe-up socks. Okay. Now, you have knit 2 rows. Come on, focus. And your working yarn is coming from the bottom because that's the last stitch, see, that you just did. And you're going to knit 1, knit your first one, and then I make 1. And the way I make 1 is you pick up this bar in between. Can you see? There's a bar in between your stitches. I'm not sure you can see that. With these little needles, it's hard to see. And with all the blue. This is the stitch I just made. The brown. Come on, camera, focus. And there's a bar in between your 2 stitches that you're going to pick up. And you're going to put that on the needle. And you're going to knit it. And that's increasing on your toe flap. And you're going to knit all the way across to the next to the last stitch. And you'll make 1 there. Let me see if I can find some bigger needles and some bigger yarn right quick where it's easier to see, because it's hard to see these little bitty needles. Get to the end of this row and I will pick these bigger needles up right here and show you what I'm talking about. Maybe be a little easier to see. Okay, never mind. We'll just go ahead and do that then. Just let me stand up right here and pick these up. Oh, I need double pointed needles. Just 1 second. There's needles. Let's get some yarn. Something. Right. How about red? Maybe we can see that better. Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make this a little easier. Alright, these are 4.5 These are different sizes. It doesn't really matter though, does it? And the winner is a 4.5. Okay. All right. Same 2 needles. And we're just going to cast on a few. I'll put them over the top. You're going to swing this up. Bring the tail over and into the middle. Swing it down. Bring that next tail over and into the middle. Just like before. You're going from the outside to the in, between the needles. Outside, in between the needles. We're going to do this just a little faster because we've already been through that a little bit. And that's 8 and 8, so that'll work. Okay. I'm going to flip this over. So you can see this is where that last stitch was made. This is the back side. So I'm going to take this tail and wrap it around your working yarn there and hold it down. And then you're going to turn your work back over so you're ready to go. Put your needle in, and it's going to be a little tight. It always is a little tight at first. And you're going to knit. Come on. Stubborn. Goodness, these feel like trees. I'm used to knitting with a smaller needle. Okay. There's your first stitch, and everything, see here, is loose. So that's when you tighten it up. Knit your next stitch. I'll make a great big sock. And there's the last one. Okay. So you've already knit this 8. And you need to knit this 8 on the bottom. So you're going to turn it around and make those on the top. And these will now be your bottom. And you continue to knit those 8 stitches. Or 12. Like I said, I start my socks out with 12. But most of the people in our family have wide feet. So you may not need 12 stitches. My husband says I have box feet because I have very short feet, but they're very wide. Okay, and that, oops, that's your last stitch. So now you can sort of see that a little better. You've got 2 rows, and you're ready to turn again, and you're going to start making one. Okay, you knit one. And this is just my preference. I knit one, and then you see this bar right here in between the stitches. Why is my camera so wonky? Is that better? Let's try. Okay, this is the stitch I just done. This is the stitch on the needle, and there's a bar in between. That bar right there. You pick it up and you put your needle in from the back to the front, and you're going to knit this one on the front through the front loop. That's an increase. You're going to knit across. Next to the last stitch. Okay. I don't know why I can see that, but it's hard to see. Maybe if I move this down this way. Is that better? Okay. This bar right here in between the stitches. And this time you're going to go from the front to the back, and you're going to knit it through the back loop. And then you'll knit your last stitch. Okay, turn your work. Turn your needles around. And we're going to do the other side just the same way you did this side. You're going to knit the first stitch. See the bar? And go from the back to the front. And you're going to knit it through the front. And what you're doing is, if you pull that off, I don't know if you can see that really well or not, but see how this leans toward the right? So that'll make your socks will be out in a V like this. On this side it'll lean out toward the right, and on this side it'll lean toward the left. So you're going to knit on across. To your next to your last stitch. And you're going to pull that bar up. In between your stitches, pull that bar up. You're going to go front to back. And you're going to knit in the back one. And then knit your last stitch. Okay, that made you an increase round. Turn it. And this next round, you're going to just knit as normal, no increases. So you should increase by 2 stitches on every row. And when you're starting out, it's best to count your stitches until you get used to it. And I'm just going to run through these 2 rows, and we'll show you one more time how to increase. And as you can see, it's starting to fold over there a little bit, starting to look more like a sock toe. Goodness. Go right on through these. You're just knitting in a big circle. Okay. Can you see how it's sort of starting to make a little dip right there? That's the start of your toe. So you're going to increase one row and then do a row without increases, just regular. Okay, knit one, pull up that stitch in between, bring your needle from the very back to the front, so that loop you picked up, and knit it through the front. And it gives you that right leaning leg. You're going to knit all the way across. Till you get to the next to the last. You leave 1 stitch on and you do your increase. You're going to see that there's a bar right there. Pick it up and you go from the front to the back, and you're going to knit it in the back through the back loop, and then knit your last stitch. Turn your work, and you're going to do this side. You're going to knit your 1, and you want to snug up the edge sides, pull it a little bit so you don't get a pucker. Okay, get this where you can see. Trying to get this where it'll focus for you. There, maybe that's it. Pick up this bar right here, and you're going to go from the back to the front and knit that stitch through the front loop. Oops, I split my stitch. From the back to the front, we're going to do that again, and you're going to knit it through the front loop. And you continue to knit. Till you have 1 stitch left on this needle. Then you're going to pick up that loop in between there, and you're going to go from the front to the back, and you knit the stitch through the back loop. And then the next row you will do will be just a solid row, no increases. But you can start to see now, this is the beginning of your toe. You've got the rounded part of your toe, and you're just working around in circles here. And you increase 1 row, and then at the next row, normal, and no increases until you get to the number of stitches for your sock. And this is your toe up method. And I normally knit until I have 60 stitches. That's a pretty good number for me. But you probably will have to try that. It took a time or two for me to figure out what my magic number was. And you'll find that if you've not knit a lot of socks, that you may have to knit a couple pairs. But that's the beginning. And then I will make another video on the heel flap. And I hope this helped, Kat. If not, send me another note, another message, and we'll try it again. Thank you for watching, and thank you for asking for this. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.